Welcome to Cheques Play, the best casino podcast. Let's do it.
Yeah, this is Bruce Harrison. You're watching Cheques Play Casino Podcast, and along here with my partner, I'm not going to say in crime, my partner in pod, Kasia Gonia-Buska. Good morning, Kasia.
Good morning, good morning. How are you, Bruce?
I'm getting younger every day, as I always say. I'll be in diapers before you know it.
Of course, whenever I see your face looks smoother and smoother.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Like, which cream do you use?
Actually, I use shea butter.
Really?
Yeah, naturally, it's from Mali, West Africa. And actually, I had a business many, many years ago. My wife and I, she was a former Olympic athlete, and after the 2004 Olympics, she felt that because they were undefeated she's a volleyball player for the U.S. Olympic team 2 times, and she got injured, and they were undefeated up to that point, and they never won another match after that, and they took 5th place. And so she always felt it was her fault, and she broke out in severe psoriasis. And the only thing that could help was this shea butter that someone recommended to her. She tried it, and within weeks, her skin was like silky smooth. We looked to make an investment. We went to Mali, West Africa, and we started investing in shea butter, and we actually had a nice business there in Las Vegas, actually. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Look at it, I'm going to, as I told you recently, I'm going to launch a brand with anti-wrinkle products.
Yeah. What's the name of it again?
Age Lift.
Age Lift.
Age
Wow,
Lift.
my gosh. And you thought this was natural. So you thought this was natural. So yeah, but we had a nice clientele before the bubble burst, and had over 260 spas and salons that we had that were our clients. We were actually in the Bellagio and the Apothecary store and the Venetian hospitals. We had a few celebrities that were our clients. Erin Brockovich was one of our clients. Yeah, she was the attorney. So we're here with Cheques Play Casino Podcast. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. So we want to make sure everyone understands that we really do appreciate all of the love and support that we're getting for our program, and we're going to keep bringing you amazing guests and incredible conversations. And like any other guest, today we're going to deliver you an action-packed guest. The fact that they agreed to be with us today. This person, their background is player development, casino host, and marketing. They agreed to come along and to share their experiences and be with us today. I'm very excited to introduce to you Mr. Nick Ippolito, all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Bruce. Hold on a minute. I'm ordering shea butter right now.
You get that?
Like 30 years old, and I look like I'm an old hag here. So where do I get that shea butter?
We're out of business, unfortunately.
Well, I got to find something for these bags.
No, you can go online, go to Amazon and order shea butter, natural raw shea butter. Yeah.
That's what I just was on Amazon. Amazon comes to my house about 15 times a day. My neighbors.
Well, that's because you're always on the road, Nick, and thank you. You're finally settled down. You took the time to spend time with Kasia and I, because I'm not going to speak for Kasia, but we were kind of like rehearsing yesterday, talking about how we were going to talk with you things about, and player development. And she said to me, Bruce, after 3 hours of talking, she said, what is a casino host?
No, because I was reading, on your website, casino host, and I'm reading, and but who is this person? What is this person doing? Okay, so yes, Bruce started to explain it to me, and then
Cassie, say your last name.
Gołębiewska.
Oh, you're Irish.
No, I'm Polish. I'm alien.
Oh, Jersey. I can hear it. Yeah. Hear the accent. You're from Brooklyn. Yeah. And I said Cassie. That's not right. Would say your first name for me properly?
Kasia.
Kasia.
Yes.
It's funny that you start off with what is a casino host, because history repeats and things come around. And now I start my seminar and I start my training with what is a casino host. It started a few years back when I spoke at UNLV and I spoke at OIGA, NIGA, WIGA, all these places, even Richard Marcus's convention. And I have to tell casino host, I have to start with what is a casino host.
Okay.
So the best, I mean, we can go on. And of course, Las Vegas and Atlantic City would be different than where I go, right? I don't train in Las Vegas and Atlantic City, obviously. I train all over the world, all over America, Canada, Caribbean, Morocco, Africa, Korea, Philippines. I've been everywhere. And the one thing I will tell you about when someone says to me, what is a casino host? The best definition I've come up with over the years is you have to differentiate yourself from every other employee on the property. Words, and in simplest terms, these are simplest terms, right? I don't want everybody to go crazy, but these are the simplest terms. If I check into anywhere, Venetian, Bahamas, Iowa, wherever I'm, right, I check in at the front desk. And this girl, Jessica, takes care of me, right? And she's phenomenal, right? I just recognize what a great check-in experience that was, right? So the next day, I call and I say, listen, is Jessica there? I need some water in the room. They go, no, she's off today. And I go, well, bring her in. I liked her. That doesn't exist, right? They go, so what? She's hourly. She's, and then the weeks later when I check in, I want Jessica again. I can't get that. So you see the difference between how a host can differentiate themselves from any other employee on the property. From any other employee on the property, they have to be that hospitality-driven, prioritize the guest needs. Yes, there's comping, and I got my book, and I got my following, and they like me, and I like them. That's all. To me, that's not a prerequisite, right? Especially these local markets. If you live 5-10 minutes away, you're coming if there's no host. If they get rid of all the players are still coming, right? So to stand out and to differentiate themselves, I say a host should be the ultimate in, hospitality. They should represent hospitality for that casino.
And everybody can be a host.
Great. I love that it's somebody like you that, is not filled with bad habits or past images of a host.
That is to cut in for a minute. That's the greatest part about our organic nature and culture of this podcast, is because Kasia has no prior experience in the casino. Actually, her first experience in a real casino was just last month in a very small casino here in the Dominican Republic. So when we explain things, like Nick, when you explain things, that's great. I just want to heighten your awareness that it's almost like you're explaining to the listener out there that we want to also to attract to this podcast who has never been in the casino and has no knowledge of anything at our terms. So that's great that you're going this direction.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you, Bruce, you both know there's people doing this 25 years that still don't know, right? So
correct.
Don't get me in trouble. So to answer that question, when I interview a host, or if I write interview, a lot of casinos have asked me to write interview questions, or what is the interview process, right? It is not the most hosts will interview and say, people love me, I have really good people skills, I love people blah 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 blah. I don't want to hear that. That is a prerequisite to being in hospitality, right? I hope the security guard says that in the interview. I hope the front desk clerk says that, and I hope the dishwasher says that in the interview. That is not the prerequisite. That is not the skill. You said the greatest word. There is skill and there is job, right? Job is customer service for everybody. The skill of a host is The one thing that separates it, let's say a concierge at Four Seasons, and I just trained a young man. He was not a young man, but I call everybody a young man. He works at, he works in Philadelphia, if I remember correctly. And he was at Four Seasons for 15 years. And his head blew off in my seminar. He was like, wow. Because the difference between concierge and casino host is the job is concierge. The skill is sales. You have to be the ultimate salesperson. You're going to talk to people about they lost 10 grand and you can't give them a slice of pizza today, right? Because they're overcomped. Or you work in a casino with no amenities and you're trying to get a player to come to you, from a property that has every amenity. That's sales. Negotiating with the player, talking to the player, getting something out of the player. The player is always negotiating. I got news for host, right? The player is ABC, always closing. The player is, but the hosts tend to not be. So over the last 15, the last 15 years I've been out on the road now. That's what I've been teaching hosts. They all do the concierge pretty well. They really do. Some of them don't want to answer their phones all the time or respond to a follow-up or a contact, but most of them do the concierge or the maintenance piece very well. It's the sales piece that we are all lacking. Nobody likes to sell and nobody likes to be sold. It's not an easy thing.
Can I interject that with my experience, because I vicariously lived through you, Nick. But the fiduciary responsibility is always the best interest of the player, as well as the best interest for your employer. So when you're negotiating, however, when you say sales, I've never worked in sales, and I don't want to say the word can't stand, but it's free speech. I can use the word hate. I hate salespeople. When I go to buy a suit, I walk in the store, they're coming. Here comes the guy. Hey, how's it going? I know he doesn't care how I'm doing. Oh, he wants the freaking sale. He wants to sell me something. And I'm looking at the guy. He's dressed like in the fucking Howdy Doody suit, a seersucker suit, and I know how to dress. Okay, that's one thing I know how to do is dress, because our image. I just told you I'm okay. When I need you, I'll call you, and it's gotten like that. So I don't like salespeople. So I'm not a salesperson, but this one experience I had, I was a casino manager at a big property for a major organization in Detroit, Michigan, MGM. And so I left the company. I was in between transitioning to Las Vegas position. And so I had a friend that lived in Cleveland. So I spent some time hanging out with a friend of mine, and there kept being delays before I had to go to Las Vegas. So while I was there, I said, you know what? I'm going to let me grab me a little part-time job, just for the heck of it. And there was a job for a salesperson in the men's department at Saks Fifth Avenue. I know nothing about selling clothes. I don't know the brands. I don't know anything. But I go in on the whim, and I look sharp. I got the job as a salesman in the men's suit department in Saks Fifth Avenue. And the other salespeople kept saying, hey, what store did you come from? Did you come from Louis Vuitton, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, I never sold clothes. So they said, well, how? Because in their transition to work in the Saks, you had to work in Walmart, you had to work in Bradley's, you had to work your way up in sales. And so they didn't believe. I said, no, I worked in the casino. So I had plenty of stories to tell, and I never sold suits or tried to sell suits. And I'm going to try to keep this short. I'm sorry, but I never tried to sell suits. And I was at times outselling them because I never tried to sell a suit. I was talking about Las Vegas. I was talking because if you say you're in the casino business, your customers want to talk to you because most of them are wealthy people that shop there, and they've all been to Las Vegas or Detroit to that casino. And so we had stories. And so I sold like crazy because while we were talking, I'm looking at a shirt. Oh, I like that shirt. Next thing I'm selling it. So that's my story. I'm sorry, but I never tried to sell.
So interesting. I'm taking notes as you speak. First of all, you wrote my tombstone. Okay. My gravestone's going to say, look sharp, but dumb as a box of hammer, right? Dumb as a
box of rocks.
If that doesn't describe me, that's nobody. So, but here's what I'm going to tell you. Life especially in America, Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. Life is sales and service. I've heard so many stories like the one you just told me, where people say, I'm not a salesman. Bruce, you're absolutely a salesperson. You got me on this podcast. You promote this podcast. You get guests on this podcast. You're absolutely a salesperson. The trick with selling is not selling. When you were talking about, and maybe you did it consciously or subconsciously, but when you were talking about the tie and you were talking about Vegas, you were selling. You were painting the picture. You were creating. So I'm looking at a suit and I'm like, leave me alone. This guy's annoying me. This is annoying me. But you're going, oh man, Vegas. And then I go, Vegas. Ooh, Vegas, right? Mm-hmm. We are constantly selling. I remember there was an IT guy, IT nerd. He doesn't mind that I call him that. He sat in one of my seminars. And at the end, he just wanted to go over CRM programs. Many casinos want to discuss CRM programs with me. And he said, well, your seminar was eye-opening. He's like, you're great. He goes, but I'm not a salesman. He goes, I'll never be a salesman. I'm not a salesman. So the next day I saw him and he said to me, hey, I wanted to stop and thank you again. I said, what's the matter? He goes, well, I put my 2 weeks notice in. I said, what happened? And he says, well, I got this great job in another state with another casino. And he made a face. I go, you worried about it? He goes, no, but I had to go home last night and convince my wife that it was a good. I said, and yesterday you told me you're not a salesperson. He goes, holy cow. I go, I wanted to hear his, not personal stuff, but I wanted to hear how he sold her. And as he's telling me, he's getting lightheaded. He's like, oh my God. I go, we sell when we don't even know it.
You just taught me something. I didn't realize that. It's the authenticity of it. It's the sincerity of the conversation.
What a great word, Bruce. What a great word.
Yes, because when that person, when I walk in the store says, how are you doing? It's good to see you. He's not sincere. And I don't feel that he's sincere. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's what it is. That's Nick. Thank you so much. The podcast is over. I learned what
this was the most important thing.
I got what I needed. You are the host whisperer.
If I had a mic, I would drop it.
Drop the mic.
So how not to be salesy and how not to be false
how not to be sexy?
Salesy. Your English is very bad. You need to improve. Nika, you understood me, right? So really, you need to improve your English.
I
understood that you would have no problem trying to be sexy. That's what I understood.
Nick, there you go. You're flirting. You're flirting, Nick. My English doesn't look very good.
No, it's not very good looking.
Not very good looking. Celia Cruz.
So what was your point? What was the point? Sorry.
My point is, you said before that, we don't want to be sold. Like, we don't want people to sell us. We don't like selling. How not to be salesy, and once you have this job, salesy? No?
It sounds like sexy, yes.
Thank you.
Bruce it up already. Bruce already.
Because one thing is, just let me finish. One thing is, to be authentic and convincing, and in our everyday life, we are selling all the time to convince people, our friends, our, wives, boyfriends, and everybody around us, to some little things, but it feels natural and we are authentic. But it's also very natural environment kind of where we are living. But once it's your job, then how to be authentic once you have client and client and client and client, and you have to be unique and authentic, and
So that's it, right? That sums it up. Again, with the podcast is over. So first of all, I love salespeople. I love sales. I love selling. I love that aspect of it. But more than that, I love a gambler. So oftentimes when I sit with a host to make calls, and it goes okay, and we do all right, and they're a good host, but I walk away and they don't have the authenticity. I walk away going, this is just a 9 to 5 to them. They're going to quit next week, or something's going to come along with more money and they're going to take. I love being in the mix with gamblers. I love talking. When I'm in the elevator going back to my room, or I'm at the food court, I could be in my t-shirt, jeans, and I hear them talking about points or free play. I chime right in. I'm like, I want to talk to these people. So you can fake it. You can get a job that you don't like, and you can try and sell it, but the authenticity is not going to come through, right? When you said, when we sell to our spouses, our kids, right? You say to your kid, mine's 30 something, so I don't say it anymore, but you say to your kid, go clean your room. And he says, 1 more level on Xbox. And you go, no, he says, 5 more levels. You go 2 more levels and go clean. There's a constant sale going on in life. So the trick would be to, like an actor, take that authenticity and bring it to where you work. But you have to, the best thing you didn't say it, but you unearthed, was you have to love what you're selling. You have to love it. You have to love being in there. You have to look forward to it. You have to be creative. You have to think of ways to tackle this. And you have to take the obstacles and the excuse that the client's making, and you have to go home at night and rehearse with your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, and you got to get ready. It's not a thing where hosting is not, not time is it? I'm 5 o'clock. It's 4:49. I got to get going home. You gotta love it. You gotta have the authenticity.
Yes. And I'm feeling you, Nick, because when you're talking, you inspire more thoughts as you're speaking, because I'm going through these flashbacks of scenarios. I'm going through a flashback of customers arriving, and I'm talking about a whale, and they're coming in. We tell the driver, give us a call when you're 5 minutes away or whatever, and we'll start walking. My partner, the president or whatever, we'll start walking to the entrance so that we can greet them, like in the movie Casino. When De Niro meets the Asian guy when he comes back off the plane, because the plane wouldn't start, whatever. But that is authentic. You may have to fake the energy because you might be tired or something, but the feeling is authentic. You want, that is your job. And that's what you were asking, Kasia, because that's your job. And so you think that you're being fake because you got to do it every day, day in and day out. But you do it, but you love it. Maybe we're lonely people. Maybe it's all about relationships, right? And so there's some authenticity there. That has to be there. And that's where the sincerity comes. But when you're on that floor, you're acting every day with your employees, your team members, and so forth, but you really mean it in your heart and soul. That's why when that person comes through that interview, that person that's interviewing has to, and that's the salesperson that you're talking about, Nick, right?
Yes. Right? And to answer the first question was, can anybody be a host? No.
What's the ideal casino host? Who is this person? Ideal casino host.
It's the perfect balance between the concierge, the ultimate hospitality driven person, the commitment to it, the passion for hospitality, with the passion to want to sell and be in the negotiation and be in the game. That's the ultimate host person, I feel.
But we're going to move from that because we've kind of beat that on enough. I think we know what a host is a little bit, and we can circle back to that. But a couple of things that we kind of missed when we introduced you, Nick, is that you have been in this industry over 40 years or so. Although you don't look like you've been in the industry more than 10 years because you look so young. But you've been you're from the bottom to the top. You've been through the grind from working as a host and player development. But currently, you are doing more keynote speaking, seminars, consulting. When you walk up and they introduce you, it looks like you're going to do the State of the Union address in front of a crowd of people. And you travel all over the universe. Like you said, you mentioned a lot of different places, the Philippines, Macau, and so forth. How do you connect with these different cultures? Because the game is different, and even the culture is different, how people relate to one another and the respect to each other. How do you dive into understanding the culture? Or I'm wrong?
You're wrong. So you're wrong only because one thing I've learned over the years, from Morocco to Iowa to Atlantic City, know this when I say it. When I say it, I know Bruce knows this.